how do you plan to do your analysis? Do you have some ideas? And because we have a lot of notes, so thank you very much for those very, very rich notes. I think you should be proud of yourselves for doing it. It wasn't so painful, was it, after all, to do it daily?
What?
No.
One suggestion that I have, feel free to comment on it, is for each of you to develop a matrix, kind of like with the questions of the 8 elements across.
I have it already.
And then, good for you, you can share it with the others.
We are now back in Davao and have started our data analysis and preliminary drafting.
Essentially about a 4 to 4.5 day process of going through our data and preparing summary reports on each component with respect to answering the data element questions.
One matrix I used on the last report that was helpful was having the question, a column for finding, a column for conclusion, and then recommendation, and you can see how they relate. So you know findings 1 and 2 lead to conclusion 1, which leads to recommendation.
I started to prepare the matrix for the matching grant program, and I didn't realize it's this tedious.
Because at the same time, while you are reviewing the answers, you are actually providing analysis.
My counterpart on the other team is a Filipino national, and in his interviews, it seems that his respondents were a lot more forthright, particularly in terms of their engagement in MILF activity. Pretty much every respondent that I interviewed denied, the existence of any MILF soldier combatant in their community, and that essentially conflict was a thing of the past now that they'd found peace and gotten, assistance from USAID.
Yes, we came here to earn a livelihood and to have a peaceful life.
It's a good question about how we're going to reconcile the 2 sets of data.
It looks like it's going pretty smoothly from the discussions we've had so far. No one seems too perplexed except about some of the questions that are at a much higher level of generality.
One of the challenges overall is how to determine or find out the impact of the assistance to beneficiaries or to the association. For example, one of the questions in NIBAC, was there a contribution to the economic growth of Mindanao? Economic growth is quite general. So personally, I think what would happen is that it would not be impact, it's more on results, on the achievement of targets. And this is quite specific, and these are achievement in terms of number. How many increase in the membership of the chamber or the associations?
There's been a lot of focus on our evidence, or our findings really needing to be evidence-based. And I think that's put a lot of pressure on our team.
I would have difficulty showing evidence-based, so that should be more or less quantitative. It would be nice if I can quantify, for example, the production of a particular commodity has increased from this volume to that volume because of the GEM assistance.
Sometimes it's really hard to quantify a certain type of benefit. Yeah, let's say, for example, BSO. GEM provides training. It's about capability building, but how do you quantify capability building? It's very hard to put value into it. Maybe capture how many trainings.
There's also a lot where we would simply have to count numbers of focus groups that have said one thing or another. Qualitative data gathering depends a lot on the researcher, the evaluator, and of course the response to that is processed through the respondent's brain and comes out an opinion, a perception. And so one has to be careful when presenting that kind of evidence to avoid being accused of simply reporting opinions. So we're trying to do something as quantitative as possible, but it's basically trying to push for quantitative or at least fact-based evidence in qualitative research.
So we have, in summary, key informant interviews, focus group interviews, observational data, quantitative data based on a survey conducted in 9 provinces across 26 different barangays. Essentially, the triangulation of these data give us high confidence in being able to provide a very compelling picture of how the project has worked.
There's an attempt right now, and this is being led by Minda, our office, to capture core indicators for measuring impacts of programs and projects to Mindanao's peace and development. Because at the moment, there really are individual impact evaluations or project evaluations by program or by project. But collectively, we need to see how all of these projects are making an impact to Mindanao's peace and development. Now, for the result of this ongoing evaluation with the GEM, this can be a very good pilot among a few others. Because for one, GEM is one of the largest portfolio of USAID in Mindanao so far. So given that it's a big portfolio, and I guess it's a very complex program in a way that it tries to capture many sectors under one program, under each component. So because of its complexity, because of it's a very huge program, it can be a very potent source of inputs to that shared M&E, the Mindanao Investment Program, and as basis for designing what can be better approaches if we want to package new programs for Mindanao. This will be very timely.
We're happy that there's a video component to this, because I think GEM will be a good material for teaching how to do a quality evaluation, and that we hope that a lot more missions would be able to use the experience that we had in GEM, especially among conflict-affected environments.
Yeah, the whole issue of a videographer in the area of evaluation, I find it intriguing in that initially I was kind of against the idea. I thought it would be somewhat intrusive, would be preemptive of our schedule, but it turned out to be very complementary to what we did as part of the overall evaluation. People did not seem to be bothered by the presence of the videographer. They seemed to kind of ignore it. I mean, he blended in and it didn't seem intrusive.